case you're new here, my name is Kayode Olubemi. I am a Nigerian lawyer. I am based here in Calgary, Canada, um, which means I'm an internationally trained lawyer looking and hoping to requalify and become a lawyer here in Canada. One of the things I'm trying to do in my channel is to show the light and to just let internationally trained lawyers who are also in Canada know the process, how they can get requalified, do the process to getting requalified here in Canada. So if you're new, please remember to subscribe. Yes, I think you should subscribe right away. I have a lot of information. I have a lot of things I'll be sharing today. And today's video is just really going to go through the entire process of making the application for the NCA examinations. I have, based on feedback from my last video, I understand a lot of us assume that people know the processes, know what to do to even start their requalification journey, but I've found that that is not correct, that is not accurate. So today's video is really going to dive um, do a deep dive into the process of applying for your NCA assessment. And again, if you're new here, you're probably wondering, or if you are new to the process of trying to requalify in Canada as a lawyer, the first question that comes to your mind is, what is the NCA? And I'll just give a quick explanation about that. So the NCA is known as the National Committee on Accreditation. Actually, that is a committee or a body set up by the Federation of Law Societies of Canada. So all the law societies of Canada all at some point came together to establish, a uniform, what you call a uniform licensing procedure or process for lawyers in Canada. And one of the ways they have done that is that for internationally trained lawyers who are moving into Canada, they need to go through a common system of examinations, which is titled the NCA exam. So that's National Committee on Accreditation. So what happens is that when you come into Canada, or even if you're still in your own country, and this is because you can write the NCA exams from anywhere, and you desire or intend to write the NCA exams, they you just need to go to their website, fill out, complete a few forms, and then they will determine, you make an application, and then they will determine whether you're qualified to write the exams or not. They will assess your credentials and tell you how many exams you need to write. So this is the process of getting into the NCA system, and then I'll just do a quick run through the website, and then hopefully you will get all of the information you need to start your assessment journey. Again, welcome back to my channel. As I mentioned that we're going to go through the NCA website today, and for you to know everything about the NCA process, how you should prepare for your exams, how do you even get assessed, how do you even know the number of exams that you need to write. So we're going to go through this website, and you will find out all the information that you need for this process. So the first thing is to come to this website, nca.legal. And the welcome page would easily tell you that it assesses the legal education and professional experience of individuals who obtain their credentials outside of Canada or in a Canadian civil law program. One of the first things you need to know is that the Canadian legal system operates a bijural system, which simply implies that we have both the common law and the civil law system of law applicable in Canada. So you would see, as you scroll down here, there are so many things that you then need to consider for you to know exactly what you need to do to be able to apply it. But before we come to focus on this home page, I just want to take us through some other things, information that may be necessary. So for instance, here if you click on the exams tab, you will see the information about the exams. So let's just look at this for instance. So you see the exam format. I've always maintained and said to everybody that asked me that NCA exams are open book and they are facts based. So Yeah, and as they have said, you can look at past law school exams to get a better idea of the exam format and content. The NCA exams, you have 3 hours to complete it. As at the time when I did my NCA exams, about 2 years ago now, I think for my first or second exams, there were 3.5 hours. But at some point, the time was reduced to 3 hours. So it's one of those things I say to everybody that comes to me, lawyers who have just moved to Canada or lawyers who are planning to move to Canada, that with the NCAs, you do not want to waste your time. You do not want to waste time. You do not want to say, oh, I'll do this next year, I'll do this 2 years in 2 years' time, because things are always changing. So, for instance, the amount, the NCA exams are significantly more expensive than when I wrote my exams, and so they review the syllabus almost every year. They review the prices almost every year, and sometimes they review the time allocation for you to write the NCA exams. So you want to, as much as possible, make use of the current system that you have at the time when the exam becomes available to you. Once you understand that, and you can come to this page and see practice exams for each of the questions. You will see tips on how you should write the exams, and then as well as the course syllabus and the course outline, which will tell you all the different topics that you can expect to be examined on, and tell you the different types of textbooks or materials that you're allowed to use. Now, as I've mentioned before, that the NCA exam is open book. What this means is that you can come into the exam with all of your materials. The only exception here is that the NCA does not allow soft copy materials. So whatever materials you're going to use in the exam, they all have to be printed. Now, printed, if you want, you could, for instance, color code your materials. You could mark your textbooks so you can easily refer to any part of the examination. Even if you have your jottings that you have written out, you can come into the examination, then attempt the examination with those materials. The only thing you are not allowed to do is to have soft copy materials. And you should also know that when you're writing the NCA examinations, ideally you're going to have a proctor monitoring you, and they always want to have two cameras or two ways of monitoring. They need to be able to see you right in front of you, and they need to be able to see what's happening behind you, your environment. So that usually would mean, for instance, your laptop, your computer, your front camera needs to be working. If it's not working, you may want to get a webcam that you can attach, and then you may use your phone as a second camera. So usually, for your convenience, you may want to get like a ring light or something that can hold your phone and can show your environments. They also would require that you don't have anything like pasted on the wall, you don't have anything hanging, any electronic devices hanging around. And so the proctors would generally tell you what you need to know for the exam. One of the other things that also happens with your NCA exam is that once you've been assessed, you then on your portal have all the exams that you have to write, and they have 12 exam sessions per year. So what you usually have, I will go to the schedule soon, is that you will see all the number of exams that would occur in a particular year and when they will happen. So that gives you the ample opportunity to prepare well ahead of time. So you can start preparing for the exam, as soon as you know the number of exams you're going to write. And you can plan yourself to say, I may not be able to write this exam in January, but I may be ready to write the exam in April if the exam is open in April. Now, what you also need to know is that as of November 2023, the fee for each exam now is $475 plus applicable taxes. That would probably come to around $500 thereabout. And then if you have medical conditions, you can request accommodation. The NCA exam is written in English or French. So if you're French speaking, if you're from a francophone country, you may request to write your exams in French. And then the NCA exam, this is probably one of the most interesting part, is that it is graded on a pass or fail basis. So essentially what you're looking to get to score in this exam is 50 out of 100. And the beautiful thing with the NCA exams is also that as soon as you're seeing the question in the exam, or you're seeing the marks applicable to each question, so that sort of helps you prepare. I would always say that you should prepare to score as highly as possible, but again, the key thing you're looking for here is to score at least 50%. And then if for whatever reason you do not pass the exam, there's a review process which you can do to you would obviously get if you do not pass the exam, you get a failure report stating what the examiner thinks you did not do correctly, and if you disagree with that, you can then make an application for a review or an appeal. I just want us to quickly look at what the schedule for 2024 exam is like. This that's just right here. So here we have the schedule for all of the exams. One thing you need to know is that morning exam starts at 7 a.m. and will end at 10 a.m. and then you have the afternoon exams that will start at 2 p.m. and end at 5 p.m. while you have midday exams that will start at 11 and end at 2 p.m. Now, all of these is an Eastern term at that time, and that's Ontario time. So again, you also have to factor this in if you're writing the exams within Canada. Make sure, and this has happened to many people before. I almost fell into this trap, when I was preparing for my exams. One of those things you have to do when you're preparing for the NCA exam is to ensure that when you're putting this on your calendar, you select the appropriate time zone, so that your phone or your calendar or whatever can convert it to your own time zone where you are based. So for instance, I'm in Calgary, Canada, which is mountain time, and the exams are in Eastern time. So what that means is that whatever time you have here, I need to add 2 hours to it. So I need to remove 2 hours because Eastern time is 2 hours ahead of Calgary. So for instance, the 7 a.m. exam in Eastern time would mean I have to be on my system at 5 a.m. because 5 a.m. Calgary time is 7 a.m. in Toronto. So that's important for you to bear in mind wherever you're writing from. If you're writing outside Canada, that's even more important for you to try to understand the time zone and to convert it appropriately. So this is how the schedule looks like. You see, in January of 2024, there are 4 exams that will be happening. There's the Canadian Constitutional Law, there's the Commercial Law, there's the Foundations of Canadian Law, and there's Property Law. So you see, the Canadian Constitutional Law is happening between January 8th and January 11th. So these already happened. In fact, they have written all of the exams for January. One key thing you need to probably note with the NCA is that you would always see about 2 or 3 dates, and this can be really confusing. So you see, registration opens November 20 for this exam, and it closed on December 14. So this is the first thing you need to note. You need to pay attention to the registration date for that particular exam and the date it closes, and then this date by this side here is the particular date in that calendar month. So we've seen that there wasn't an exam on January 8th in the morning, there was an exam on January 9th in the afternoon, and then there was an exam on January 10th in the morning, afternoon on January 11th. So this is very important for you. It's the same thing. So you see the exams that you have in February, Canadian Professional Responsibility, Business Organizations, Canadian Criminal Law, Contract, Tax, Torts. In March, Administrative Law, Remedies, Civil Procedure. Back in April, now you have Canadian Constitutional Law again, you have Family Law, you have Foundations of Canadian Law, Evidence, Trust. In May, see what we have here. June, see what we have. July, see what we have again. August, September, October, November, no exams in December. So one good thing with the NCA is that you have the benefit of knowing everything that will happen in the next year, throughout the year, almost a year ahead of time. So you want to make sure that you make use of this opportunity just to prepare your mind if you're looking to take on the NCA exams. Now come to resources here. So you see they have the NCA policies and guidelines, which I would really advise that you understand. So you know all the factors that will affect your assessment, how your grades, your CV or your resume, and then of course even the exams themselves. One key thing, you're sort of about to answer: fact-based law exams, the cost, timelines, and everything you really need. And to be honest, I think that the NCA, they are very responsive. So even if you have an issue or something that you really don't understand, you can just shoot them an email. They're always very willing to respond. Now, what is the application process here? The first is that this is the timeline that everybody thinks about. Is that you need about 2 to 6 weeks to gather all of your documents. But again, if, say for instance, like a lot of my viewers are based in Nigeria and Canada, knowing for instance that it takes forever to get your transcripts, to obtain your transcripts in Nigeria, you want to also account for that time. So if you want to start the process earlier and all of that, so you need to take that into consideration. Of course, you need to get your undergraduate transcript, you need to get your Nigerian law school transcript. You obviously would also need to get a letter of good standing from the NBA. What I've seen again, and this is not automatic anyway, but I've also seen from colleagues that the NCA sometimes would accept for instance, a letter a screenshot of your NBA portal profile, just showing your NBA profile, showing that you're in good standing. Just in the event that you're not able to get a letter of good standing in good time, I have seen them accept it. But generally, what they require is a letter of good standing from the NBA. So once you get all of your documents to the NCA, they take about 6 to 8 weeks to assess all of your documents, and then they give you your assessment and tell you the number of exams you have to write. So typically, give or take, you have 5 years to complete all of your exams, but as I've shown you the schedule, it is totally self-paced. You can do that at your leisure. I completed all of my exams in 4 months, and that's just me. You don't have to complete it in 4 months. You can do your exams in. I've seen those who took their time 2 years, 3 years, just writing it at their pace. I mean, there are so many things that would influence that. For instance, someone who is married with children, if you have a big family, you obviously may require more time. If you're in a very busy employment where you hardly ever have vacation days, you hardly ever have time to relax or rest, you may not have enough time to study. That also is something you need to take into consideration. So that's exactly one thing to bear in mind with the NCAs. And of course, exam results typically will come out 10 to 12 weeks after the last exam. The key thing that you need to know here, and this is me speaking specifically to Nigerian candidates, is that the NCA has 5 minimum exams that anybody would write, regardless of, and those are like the 5 core courses. So regardless of when you graduated and all of that. So usually that would be Canadian administrative law, Canadian criminal law, Canadian constitutional law, foundations of Canadian law, and then Canadian professional responsibility. In certain instances, you may get exempted from one of those 5 courses. So say for instance, you're doing a master's in Canada and you've taken an exam in, say, Canadian administrative law, and you've taken a course in Canadian administrative law. Based on that, you could apply that you should be exempted. But again, that is totally dependent on the NCA. It doesn't mean that they are not obligated they're not obligated to answer you, if I could put it that way. So just back to the home page, so we can just go again and show us a couple of things. So let's play around with this portal. So it says I have a lawyer trained outside of Canada. So it says for you to, so this is how you need to understand the NCA process. So once you've done that, the first thing you want to do is see if I qualify to apply. So we answer some of the questions here. You do the self-assessment. Yeah, so let's see. This is strange. Generally, the NCA portal is always up to date, but looks like. Anyway, so that's not going through. So in times past, there used to be a self-assessment form here, but let's just play around with what this particular start the application. So here you've seen the people who can apply. You're a newcomer to Canada with a law degree, you're a Canadian citizen who got a legal education in that country, or you're a legal graduate thinking of immigrating to Canada. So you can apply from anywhere in the world. Citizenship, nationality, and where you live do not matter. So what happens there is so you can submit your documents, your credentials for assessment from anywhere in the world. The only people the NCA will not assess will be those who are looking to practice civil law in Canada, those who want to go to Quebec and all of that. So Quebec has their own process, the civil law process. And so once you have determined that you qualify from this part, you just need to then click on the apply now button, complete the form, and then there is the payment of 500 Canadian dollars for the assessment. So once you make that payment, then they can tell you everything you need to know. So this is the first part. So the NCA application, you see your name, you enter your name here, you enter all of this information, you generate this code. Then you need to come to contact information, you enter your contact information. Obviously, I do not just want to mess with the NCA system. I do not want to put in a fake profile. I have already completed this exam, so I typically cannot fill out some of these forms here, but you enter your contact information. Your pre-law education would typically be your undergraduate degree in Nigeria. So this is where there's a bit of confusion between the Nigerian system and the Canadian system. Understand that in Canada, for you to be a lawyer, you need to first have an undergraduate degree that is different from law. So most people would have degrees in sciences, in humanities, in the different walks of life, and then you take on the LSAT and then gain an admission into a law school for 3 years. But in Nigeria, you just write your JAM, you write your WAEC, and you get admitted into the faculty of law in the university to study law. So once you do all of that, you are qualified. So in pre-law education, please do not make the mistake. So what I have seen happen is that there are folks who come into pre-law education and enter their secondary school details. That is not what they're asking you for here. What they're asking you for here is your undergraduate degree. And then you come to legal education and then you enter your Nigerian law school details. When you're done with that, so you enter your, and also here, so you enter your Nigerian law school details. If you have master's or any other type of education, if you want to enter that here, then your license, and that's you being called to the bar. What kind of, so here, you probably want to look for barrister and solicitor or something when you're selecting it, and then you enter your work experience. This is very important. So your work experience is important because there you need to, uh, and this also goes back to you completing your resume. You want to make sure that your CV is properly amplified. What do I mean by this? It says that there could be things, for instance, in your transcript. So they don't just assess just your transcript alone or your legal qualifications. They also look at your work experience. So, for instance, say that you had a terrible grade in uni. So you did law of contract, you had a C or you had a D, which probably may not be an acceptable grade, but they need to be sure that over time you have worked as a lawyer or you've done some legal work that has now improved your understanding of that particular course. So you making sure that your work experience, especially in your resume, is well amplified, could save you from being assessed to write that particular paper again. Now, this is not automatic, but you set yourself up for better chances of success than when you just enter your work experience in a shabby manner. So, key thing here is that you want to make sure that your CV is properly amplified so that you get the maximum benefits you can get in terms of assessment. When you enter, you obviously upload your photo, you make a declaration and waiver, you make a payment, and the application is complete. Now, once this has been done, you will get access to, you will receive an email from them telling them your file number, and that file number will also now grant you access to a different portal. So I'll just try to look at a portal. This is what the portal looks like. NCA portal. This is this. Yeah. So this was my account when I did the NCAs. I'll just go through. So this is the home page. So this was my assessment. See, I completed all of my papers, passed all of them in one sitting. So what you see in terms of P, that's not a grade. So remember, I said that NCA exams are pass or fail. So usually they have different paper types, A, B, C, D, depending on the time of day you're writing the exams. So that's just what that means. It doesn't mean anything or something like that. This is my assessment report. I obviously wouldn't be opening that, but essentially what it says is that I am to write all these 5 exams that I wrote to do at the time. My exam history, you can see when I wrote each of my papers. Purchase exam, obviously I have nothing to purchase. I can get my NCA transcript from there. Personal info, financial, and all of that. So so this is what I wanted to show. Pre-law. Okay, I think I actually did not fill out anything in the pre-law. I just put everything on that legal. So about Femi Awolowo, I went to University of Aberdeen, University of Law School. So you can see the difference between when they received my transcript for every other school. Obviously, University of Calgary sent my transcript first, followed by University of Aberdeen, Nigerian Law School. My OAU transcript got there. So it's just the way it is. Once you are done with all of that, then you're good to go. You just will be able to write your exams, and that's it. Once you write all the exams you can assess to write, and then you can request for your certificate. One thing though is that beginning of January 2022, the NCA started a particular course called the Legal Research and Writing, and now that would apply to anybody that will get in their credentials assessed after January of 2022. That course is to help you understand legal research and writing. How do you conduct legal research in Canada? How do you write appropriately as a legal man in Canada? For those who, for instance, maybe are undergoing a master's degree in Canada, you could be exempted from writing that particular course if you've taken the legal research and writing course in your master's class. Otherwise, you would then have to write that particular exam. So I think that essentially is it. That is how you go through the entire NCA process. It's pretty much straightforward. Once you've submitted all of your documents and you have your assessment, then you start to register for each of the exams. So I don't think there's any other thing that is so hard other than wishing you good luck when you eventually take up the exams. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave these questions in the comment section. I'm going to go there, try to respond to as many people as possible, and then hopefully everybody will get all of the information that they need. One more thing before you go. If you've not liked this video, please like the video, leave a comment. Even if you have no questions, just say, hey, this was informative. That would really mean a lot to me. And of course, please share this to everybody you know, lawyers in internationally trained lawyers in Canada who have not written the NCA exams, lawyers in Nigeria who may be considering moving to Canada, or lawyers anywhere that may just be considering moving to Canada. Yeah, so, and most importantly, please remember to subscribe. Thank you so much. Have